Most people think building wealth is about doing more. More work, more hustle, more hours. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if wealth actually comes from doing less, but the right things? There is a principle that explains why a small number of people accumulate most of the wealth in the world. It's called the 80-20 rule. But the way it works in money is not what most people think. Most people hear about the 80-20 rule and think it means something simple. They imagine that 80% of results come from 20% of effort. So they assume the goal is just to work less. But that's not how it works. The real meaning of the rule is much more powerful. And when applied to money and wealth, it explains why some people stay financially stuck for years while others accelerate quickly. Because in reality, the 80-20 rule is not about working less. It's about working on the few things that actually matter. The idea originally came from an observation made by an economist. He noticed something strange. A small percentage of people controlled the majority of resources. Later, researchers started seeing the same pattern everywhere, in business, in productivity, in knowledge, in results. A small portion of actions creates most of the outcomes. And the same pattern appears when it comes to wealth. A few decisions shape most of someone's financial life. When people struggle financially, they usually focus on small things. They try to optimize every tiny expense. They stress about minor financial decisions. They look for small tricks. But the reality is this: most financial outcomes come from a few major decisions. Things like how you earn money, how you invest, how long you stay consistent, and what skills you choose to develop. These few factors shape the majority of financial results, which means something important. Improving just one of the big variables can change everything. The biggest mistake people make is focusing on the 80% that doesn't matter much. They spend years optimizing the wrong things. They try to save tiny amounts. They worry about insignificant details, but they ignore the big decisions. It's like trying to make a boat faster by polishing the paint, while ignoring the size of the engine. The people who build wealth understand something different. They look for the few actions with the biggest impact, and they double down on those. In the long run, wealth usually comes from a small number of powerful moves. Learning valuable skills, creating or owning assets, investing consistently, thinking long-term. These actions might represent only a small part of someone's daily life, but they produce the majority of financial growth. Meanwhile, most people spend the majority of their time on things that barely move the needle. The difference between the two paths becomes huge over time, not because one person works harder, but because they work on what actually matters. If you want to use the 80-20 rule in your financial life, ask yourself a simple question. What are the few actions that would create the biggest impact over the next years? Not the small actions, the big ones. Then focus your energy there. Because wealth rarely comes from hundreds of tiny optimizations. It usually comes from a few powerful decisions repeated for a long time. The 80-20 rule isn't about doing less. It's about focusing on the small number of things that truly change your life. Once you understand that, you stop trying to optimize everything and start focusing on the decisions that actually build wealth. If you want to learn money the simple way, subscribe. New videos every day. And comment below. What do you think is the one decision that impacts wealth the most?